right.
Hello, Facebook. We're going to let some of our friends into the group. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to see everyone here this morning as we are letting everyone jump into the group.
Good morning, Rick.
Hi.
He's doing what I've been doing.
Welcome, everybody. It's so wonderful to see everyone here today for our very last, unfortunately, breakfast at Wigmore Hall. We have had this amazing experience partnering with Wigmore to view these and to get together and have a little conversation about it. And wow, today, I cannot wait to hear your comments, Sam, about today's performance because it was just phenomenal. I'm so glad you're here. I'll take care of a few things before we get started. If you look down, you can see there is a chat icon, and if you click on that, you can pop that right up. And if you have any questions for Sam or for me, then you can go ahead and put them in the chat box there, and we should be able to see them as they come. We appreciate your support as always. We are so very thankful for our friends, and I'm so thankful you were able to join us today. And again, I am just blown away from this performance. How about you, Sam?
I totally, and good morning, everyone. I'm going to remember this day the rest of my life. And it's actually sort of hard to talk right now, coming out of this performance. Generally, after any good performance of Winterreise, you need an emotional decompression time. And that reflects the power of this piece and why it is just so important to people who love music. And I think we've witnessed something extraordinarily beautiful and extremely powerful today. And at the same time, it's wonderful. I mean, this is the sort of music making that keeps hearts and spirits alive. So I'm so grateful to Wigmore and to Mark Padmore and to Mitsuko Uchida for giving us this, because it's truly an extraordinary experience to hear this piece performed so extremely well.
Yes, and it's so emotionally loaded. I just, watching Mitsuko play, and she just all of the emotion that she had was just really wonderful to me today. So I know all of our friends feel the same way and love to hear this, but it was definitely for me a really great moment as well.
Yeah, good. I mean, the intimacy of this piece is searing. It is so penetrating, the intimacy of this piece. And to have a pianist and a singer at one with it, which certainly our two artists today were entirely at one with it, makes it even more compelling and even more searing, quite frankly. The power of this piece is augmented by the fact that the poetry is so amazing and the story is so compelling. And when all those forces combine to have such a distilled and focused and intense performance, it just rocks. It just rocks. It's just so powerful. And that's where I'm still coming back from it. I've been wiping my eyes through this, and there was this one moment that I actually had sort of lost it, because my gosh, we're hearing this F major chord, and I will talk about keys a little bit later, and major and minor, but this is masterful in every conceivable dimension. That's all I can say right now.
Definitely. And the energy was just amazing between the performers as well. And, I think that's a very important thing. We could probably start by talking about that, but the importance of having the right pairing, of vocalist and pianist for the collaboration. I think that was one thing this morning that was just so powerful to me. So
yes,
talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I mean, Mark Padmore has lived with this piece a long time. He's performed it with many pianists, including Paul Lewis. He and Paul have recorded this, and Mitsuko has lived with it and performed it with many singers, including even Bostridge. And to have those two artists so deeply immersed, living this piece when they're performing it, makes for an extraordinary collaboration. And I'm astounded by the refinement of their artistry. There's so much of this music that is spare, that it's sort of essential. It's sort of stark. The piano writing is, in so much of this piece, very simple. And sometimes the simplest sort of writing is the hardest to bring about, because everything is under intense scrutiny. You can't, quote, hide behind anything. The notes have to be perfectly voiced. They have to be perfectly together. And there needs to be every nuance of dynamics and articulation. Similarly, when there is a work of this nature that is driven by the meaning of the words, and there is an artist like Mark Padmore who has a relationship with the piece, and also what I call a relationship with words, particularly a language that is not his own. He's a British singer who is singing in German, but he has a profound understanding of the meaning of the words. And when we sit and listen, we are getting this consummate reward of all of their investment of time and effort and study and thought and perfection of this piece. And there's one little moment caught me where Mark has to start a line singing the word nur, which means now. And good, how does one make that work? I know this is a tiny detail, but this is reflective of how extraordinarily dedicated he is. As a singer, here at Clayton State, Dr. Zeller would be teaching this to his singers, but you can't sing nur. You have to start with a and open up into nur. You have to get the N going in your mouth before you can open your mouth to sing the word. And the way that Mark Padmore did that today just floored me. I mean, in this tiny moment, this tiny little blade of grass that he gave me was so meaningful. We can appreciate this work in every dimension, in the tiniest particulate way, and in the most transcendental way. And that's why it's a masterwork. There's an endless amount of discovery possible in this piece.
It is a masterwork. And has Mark Padmore ever performed at Spivey before?
No. I've tried and tried and tried. Mark is he's renowned as a singer. He's incredibly popular. He has a certain circuit. He appears regularly in New York. He has performed in other places in the United States. It seems as though our booking cycle is always off. Every time I try, I've just missed a tour, or there are no more dates in the tour, or there was going to be a period, but the period has changed, and I find that he is fully booked all the time. The only time I've actually heard him live has been in London and in Vienna. And he is one of the singers who I think would make every use of the possibilities of connection with an audience in Spivey Hall, because of our acoustics and because of our amazing audience that is just so rapt and attentive to every single thing that happens on stage here. So I'm not giving up. But no, Mark has not performed. Of course, Mitsuko has, both in solo and in collaboration with violinists and also a singer. So Mitsuko knows Spivey Hall incredibly well.
Of course, we love Mitsuko. Mm-hmm. And I know we also have someone that was originally booked, and possibly it's for the spring coming up, that is planning to do Winterreise at Spivey.
Yes.
This spring. So Angelika Kirschlager, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that. And, this is normally performed by a male, so this is a female performing Winterreise coming up at Spivey, and that's very exciting to me. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, their masterworks can be interpreted in many ways. That is their strength, that is their wonder. And Angelika Kirchschlager decided that this is a journey that a woman can take too. And Christa Ludwig has said that. She has performed it and recorded it with James Levine. Other great, female singers have been drawn to the power and the beauty and the depth of this piece. It requires a certain imagination. But my relationship with this piece is that it is so much about the imagination. This story is told in ways that create some very specific imagery, but it's also an emotional journey. And I think when we have our powers of imagination at work and they are stimulated and provoked by extraordinarily fine performances, and the work itself is it just contains this richness, then we can have, our imaginations can encompass that. We can go there, particularly if the artist is compelling. And Angelika Kirchschlager, who's performed here once before, is what I would call a singing actress. She is someone who has an intense relationship with words, but she's also someone who can convey with her physical gestures the meaning of what she's singing. So knowing her to be a compelling performer and an insightful interpreter and a native speaker of German, and the fact that she was willing to do this with Julius Drake, whom we love and adore, and he knows the piece profoundly well, that to me sounded like an interesting way of understanding the piece in a different way. And to be very honest, when I booked this, I was also thinking, yes, we need another voice for this piece. Not a voice in the sense of a vocal voice, but we need a different perspective on this piece. We need a woman's perspective, because we've had Winterreise here, we'll have it again, but we've not had it from a woman's perspective. And I think we can afford ourselves that and learn and come to appreciate the work even more, because it will stimulate our thinking. And again, I'll tell you, half the reason this happened was that I went to London and heard a production of Stephen Sondheim's Company, in which the protagonist, Bobby, male, became a female protagonist whose name was Bobby, and that blew my mind. And it was pretty much at this time that I thought, oh yeah, we have to do this, because it made me rethink Company. It's my favorite Sondheim. So again, this piece is rich with possibility.
I actually saw a company, a gender bender company as well, and it was a big game changer for me too. So, this actually could be done as a stage production. Is that correct? Like, it's a song cycle with a personal narrative. So does anyone ever do Winterreise as a stage production?
Oh yes, that very much so. And in fact, in Atlanta, we've had it from the Atlanta Opera not so long ago. This was a bold experiment, and it's not commonly done, but my feeling is, again, great works are worthy of every exploration, and if any production could possibly bring someone to the world of Schubert and Müller and Winterreise, then that's a good thing. And I went with of course I attended, I was tremendously curious about this. And again, it made me think so much about the piece and how I understand it now, and how I might continue to learn to understand it in different ways. One of
Is
the
there more than
things,
one version? Are there more than one version of Winterreise?
well, yes, there is more than one. Well, let's back up just a bit. It's not so much a version, but it's how the piece evolved, because Schubert originally wrote the first 12 songs, and he had that conception in mind, and he was inspired to do that. And then he found the reason to expand it to 24 songs, which to me sort of happened to mirror 24 hours in the day. I'm not sure, if that was intentional or not. But it obviously takes the arc of the story, of the narrative, to an entirely different place. And in creating this second, taking from 12 to 24, he was also preparing it for publication. And when he did that, there were concerns either expressed by his publisher, or maybe he had his own concerns about how the piece would be received by people who would try to sing it in their homes. Because selling music was a way of getting music into people's homes. Remember, no radio, no internet, and the house was the place where most people did their music making. Vienna had concert halls of various sorts, but the whole notion of a recital was, the commercial recital wasn't really popular yet. So what Schubert did is he changed some keys, and there's sort of a high key alternative, and sometimes there's a lower key alternative, and that's meant to fit what he's trying to achieve expressively in the piece, but also the fact that a tenor voice can go higher than a baritone voice, that can go higher than a bass voice. So even people like Ian Bostridge have done some picking and choosing of the keys to make an experience for them that they think is coherent and musically most complete, I guess, perhaps, or most promising. And that very much comes into issue with, say, Angelika Kirchschlager, because she I know, has created, it took her quite some time to find the right combination of key for each song. And the reason this is important, because the key has character. In other words, this performance started with Gute Nacht, with Good Night, in D minor. And one of Schubert's incredible preoccupations in this piece, and throughout so much of his writing, is this constant flux between major and minor, particularly in the same key. Schubert does that to create shadow and light, expectation and realization, tension and release. It's an expressive technique, I guess you could say, although it's not really technique, it's more grounded in personality than that. But it goes on constantly. If you sit and listen to this performance and start trying to trace, when are we in major, when are we in minor, and what was the last key that we heard in the last song, and what key are we in now? You don't need to name it. You don't need to call it by D minor or F major or any such thing. You just need to know, aha, this journey has a terrain, and the terrain is being described geographically through key relationships, through major and minor. That gives you the sense of when the word Schnee, snow, is mentioned so often in the first 12 songs. What key are we in, and what pitch is that, and where does it fall in the line? Where's the tension? There are so many wonderful, deeply embedded meanings in this piece, and key and major minor has a lot to do with that. So long story short, there is only one Winterreise, which Schubert modified in many ways. And Ian Bostridge has observed that even though when Schubert was doing the corrections on his piece towards the the last few days of his life. And the original manuscript is at the Pierpont Morgan Library in New York City, and you can go and you can see the manuscript, and that's an amazing experience for scholars.
Are there other resources, if anyone wants to learn about Schubert's Winterreise? Are there other sources?
Oh gosh.
I'm sure there are resources everywhere. What are your favorite resources to learn a little bit more about this work?
This is an unpaid endorsement. There is a book by Ian Bostridge, which came out just about the time he was last at Spivey Hall. It's called Schubert's Winter Journey, Anatomy of an Obsession. And it's by Ian Bostridge. It's this white book, which has a very interesting, heavy, sort of cotton paper cover to it. It feels wonderful in your hands. And you open it up, and there it is, his illustrations. It goes song by song through the cycle. And I'd like to read you just a little bit about what he tells about this work, his approach to this. And this appears not in his book, but in his recording that he made with Life of Ansmus for EMI. A lot of writing about Winterreise, a lot of my own thinking about it, has been historical and contextual. Who were Schubert's circle? What did the repression of Metternich's Vienna do to them? How did they conduct their friendships and their love affairs? What did it mean to live in the constant fear of death by infectious disease. Hello, where are we now? In an age before the discovery of microbe. What did religion really mean for these men and women? These are all issues worth thinking about when preparing to listen to Winterreise. But the issues which seem most urgent to me now, and he's writing about 2000, concern the modernity of the piece, its embeddedness in 20th century culture, and its continuing meaning for us. So I am not one of the people who has yet gone through every word of Ian Bostard's obsession with this piece. I know we have Spivey Hall friends who have. You can open this book to any passage, any page, and you will find something extraordinary to learn. It's not just about the piece, it's about the meaning of the piece in our time and culture, and I heartily recommend it to anybody who wants to know more. I don't think you can read this book in a single setting, but you can come back to it time and again and find more. And again, I recommend it highly.
Thank you, Sam. I'm sure there are some other amazing resources out there, but it's wonderful that we have something that's also so personal to us that we can kind of recommend, from one of our good friends. Mm-hmm. So that's wonderful. Well, I appreciate everyone being here today. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about either the performers today or about Schubert's Winterreise that you haven't already had the chance to share with us?
I'm sure I will have echoes of this experience 20 minutes from now, 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, because it had that power. But I don't think I can say more than the music can. And for those who have listened to this performance, I think we've had an extraordinary experience. This is, this to me, quite frankly, underscores the power also of this medium, that we can experience performances online that can be tremendously moving. It always matters. The medium has a huge effect on it. But just here's an analogy, Spivey Hall has these great acoustics, but the source of the sound matters most. The hall can't make beautiful what isn't already beautiful. The hall can only amplify and put into context the source. And when the source of the performance is beautiful and meaningful, that will come through in the modern age in which we have the internet and HD and audio. That something in London just now can be experienced so vividly throughout the world in real time is mind-boggling. But that's where we live now. And this is the environment in which Spivey Hall is learning to enter. So we will have more streaming in our future, particularly as a way of getting through the next wave of our pandemic. And no one can predict that. But there still is no substitute for having people in front of us. We all yearn for that. But it's like popular music and classical music. We don't have to say, I like one but not the other. No, we can have it all. And I think that we will have it all in time because we can have access to so much incredible music this way, but we can also really enjoy the special and unique pleasures of having human beings in front of us performing great works, because there's nothing on earth like that.
And of course, it was very true that Spivey Hall is one of the most magical places to hold space for these amazing moments. Yeah. So, that's the Spivey moment, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we look forward to more of them in time when it is safe to do so.
Yes. After that, do you think that there's any chance that we might have Mitsuko as a solo performance at Spivey?
Mitsuko has, she has progressively reduced the number of concerts she's giving every year. For a while, she was doing about 70 a year, and she's chosen recently to reduce that even to a smaller number. She's not 25, she's not 35, she's not 45, she's not 55, she's not 65. She's been doing this for a while. And she's never been the one to take pleasure in tremendous volumes. I remember once listening to her backstage in the Minnesota Orchestra where I first worked with her. And we were talking about recordings of things. And she said, sitting on the piano, you know, literally sitting on a piano, says, I don't collect recordings, I listen to them. So she has this relatively small number of recordings that she really treasures. And that's her approach. Less is more for her. And the intensity and the quality of what she needs is what's driving her life right now, which is a long way of saying we have tremendous competition for the very, very small number of performances she will get in the United States. But she knows us. She knows Ulrich Gerhardt, who can prepare pianos so well for us. Ulrich prepares our pianos. We brought Ulrich over for Mitsuko. Her manager in the United States is an astounding person. I've known my entire professional life, and I'm hopeful that we will see Mitsuko again.
Wonderful. I do have one quick question from one of our friends. Let's see, it says, I'm curious about the Song of the Three Sons. Is that a reference to the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost?
I don't think so. My sense of the two sons are the two eyes of his beloved that he no longer sees. That's my take on the three sons. There's the sun in the sky, and then there are these two orbs that, you know, if the eyes are the pathway to the soul, the protagonist, the wanderer, the singer in this performance is missing the sons of his beloved through her eyes. But that's where poetry offers a potential for multiple understanding and a beautiful and sometimes even necessary ambiguity. That's a point to ponder. And I don't know this, but has Ian Bostridge addressed this in his book? I would be willing to bet $100 that he does. You know, because it's exactly points like that that would be reason for an obsession.
Well, thank you so, so much. I think, does anyone have any additional questions that you'd like to ask in the chat box? All right. Thank you again, Sam, for all of this, just sharing with us. We love to listen. You have so many amazing insights. And it's been really such a pleasure for me to get to have these conversations with you, and also for our friends to be able to join us on these and just listen to some of this from you. I really appreciate it. So thank you very much for doing this for us.
It's been a tremendous pleasure. Thank you, Elise, for being such a wonderful host of these experiences that we're able to share with our friends in Atlanta and beyond. And I also always wish to thank Christopher Tolick, our production manager, and our marketing manager, Tammy Moore, for helping us to get to this point where we can have these experiences. There's more in store online for us. We are working towards the possibility of having some performances available through our website that will be of immensely high quality, and I hope of tremendous interest for those who love chamber music. We'll have to see. We haven't yet made our final decision, but there's an opportunity that we're evaluating that we hope to have more information about to share with everybody, all the Spivey Hall patrons and donors and ticket buyers quite soon. And again, the friends, thank you so much, all of you, for your incredible loyalty and generosity in sustaining us, not just in the great times, but in the tough times too, as you currently are doing. Typically in the summer, I would be traveling with some of you. I would be getting to know some of you better, and I miss that. And my heart broke this morning when I got an email from the artistic director of the Lucerne Festival saying, oh, guess what? We're not canceled. We are going to do a mini festival of 10 concerts anyhow, and one of them is Cecilia Bartoli, and that was the one we were going to go see and hear. It's like, arg, arg, arg. But there will be a time. You know, we are going to get through this, and we are going to have music to sustain us while we do it. And there will be times when we will be back together, and I can't wait for those to happen. So to the friends, for your goodwill and for your loyalty and for all the wonders that we enjoy in music in company with each other, thank you so much.
Yes, and thanks again. Thank you to our production team. Thanks to our friends. We will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone. Auf Wiedersehen. Until soon.